last week. Um, so when I started this, I got to go way back, 8 years ago or something. I was having a bad day. Just one of them shitty days where a bunch of stuff was building up. I don't know what. At this point, that was a long time ago. But I remember it was bad. And then I got on Messenger and I had 2 messages pop up from strangers. And they were Facebook friends, but just I had 4,000 Facebook friends. They're not all my buddies. So anyways, they whoever they were, I don't even remember at this point. They said that they had to thank me. That it had been however long, a year, whatever, since I said something that planted a seed in them, and they went out and investigated and became Christian. They have a relationship with Jesus, and they said, it's not. They didn't overkill it. They had a real relationship with Jesus, where they said, thank Jesus, but I want to thank you for being His tool, and that's what I always wanted to be. I said, Jesus, I don't have to be your best tool in your nail bag or whatever, but for a certain job, I want to be a go-to. I want to be, as a carpenter, right? I have like this old chisel, and it's you would never use it as a chisel, right? I carried that thing around with me for years and years and years, and used it all the time. And it would pull nails. It could chisel but it was a chewer. It was like a beaver, but you could do a lot with it. And so I carried that thing around, and it wasn't my nicest tool. Like I said, it was an old beat up, cheap chisel, but it was definitely a go-to for a lot of situations. Levering, if I had to put in flooring and I needed to pry that little piece here, there, whatever, that thing there's so many little uses for having an old beat up chisel. And then once in a while I could take it to the grinder and I'd grind her down and get a little edge back on it. But I'd quickly destroy that edge. Anyhow, so I'd say to God, let me be your old beat up chisel. One of those tools that you may not need it on for every job, and you may not need it all the time, but you always put it in your nail bag. It's always around somewheres, and you pull it out. And that was my analogy that I used back then. I forgot about it until right now. So anyhow, hopefully I remember. I read the Freemason book today. I'll talk about that in a minute. Anyhow, that happened to me, and it was 2 different people, and they both said like the same message, different words, but same message of saying, thank you for planting that seed, Jay. You lit up my life, and it changed my everything. Thank you. And it lit up my life. Getting that call, hearing that from those people, all those problems, I was, man, that was like I remember that as the happiest day. Now, it was a sad, shitty morning. It was down in the dumps, all crappy, probably half suicidal, just beating myself up. My son miles away. Who knows what I was sad about? I had a lot of stuff going on. Money problems and all that at the time, and I was drinking and partying with all the wrong people. So who knows, right? There could have been a bunch of things. I was straightening that up, I think, at the time, because I was living by myself, getting away from getting bad people. I was pushing bad people out of my life. Anyway, a year goes by, and that exact same situation. Same, I don't know if it was the same people. Could have been. But another reminder that I did that. And it lit me up, and it was another really bad day, and it lit me up. And then that day, I got down on my knees, I was praying, I was talking to God about it. And I said, God, I don't want to just be that tool anymore, you know. I want to do this full time. This is all I want to do. I don't want to work for the people. I don't want to go out into the world. I don't want to do 9 to 5. I don't want to do any of that stuff. And this would have been, you know, around 7 years ago. And I said, I just want to work for you. I want to save souls. I don't care in what capacity, just whatever. Use me. Use me and use me. How did I pronounce that? I said, I don't have to be part of your story, but I want you to be all of my story. And just fill my life with God, and just let me go around and show people God. Like just let me bring you around to the world. And went into that agreement. God doesn't answer you like with words, obviously, but what he did was he just started giving me different knowledge, putting me through different trials, exercising me. Really, I went really hard into study, trying to learn as much as I could about as much as I could. And you know, read the Bible, but read all the books, everything that is even remotely close to a biblical book that I can find. Which brings me to the book with the Freemasons again. It's a biblical book. I don't know how people call that the high levels or Satan. No, I've looked up the Satanists. I know who they are, and then I know who the human worshippers are, which is another form of Satanism, right? And I know the difference between those, and I know witches. I can pick those out mostly. It's with Satanists, witches, Christians, false Christians, biblical people. The differences are subtle, big time. Like God's the power. So, in order to access that power, you have to do godly, righteous things. So all of them are doing godly, righteous things in order to get power for ungodly, selfish reason. So, and the Satanists, like, it's confusing because it's so close. So, like, love fellow man, fucking look after your neighbor, forgive people, fucking all this other stuff, like, to a certain extent, but then it flips all of a sudden and it goes dark, super dark. Anyhow, the so the wandered all around. Anyhow, so the Satanists and the witches and all that are all really, really similar. Really similar to the Bible. So I was expecting the Masons to be using biblical things. in order to achieve power in this realm. It's like I was discussing on the third part of If I'm Wrong, where people see the Bible as a book about just frequency. Now, that's part of it, definitely. You can feel that as you change and stuff. There's definitely all of that's real. It's just that that's not all it is. It's also real. It's so much. It's so layered. People get stuck in just one layer. Like, oh, this is it. I got it all figured out. It's like, no, man. No, you don't. You got this little piece figured out. There's one layer of it figured out. But it's all of those things. It is a computer because of the references and how much it does. It's like an interactive book, ever changing and ever growing. You could study that your whole life and not scratch the surface on everything that's in that book. So you can't just say that it's only how to get your frequency up. That's just another form of humanism where you're worshiping yourself. You're like, oh, look at me, I got my frequency up or whatever, right? So then you're toting that Satanist line again, which is really easy to do because, and it's made easy to do in order to weed out from the elect, right? Because if you're not the elect, God doesn't want you to make it through using he wants you to get that power, get those loopholes, but then reject him and love yourself over that, and he'll be able to tell who you are fundamentally or whatever, how much of it you're willing to accept, acknowledge, right? He couldn't have made it too easy. It's easy, don't get me wrong, it is easy, but it's the most complicated and hard thing you'll ever do too. It's hard to comprehend because of that, right? But it's easy to say, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to study the Bible part and the New Testament part and study Jesus, and read the Old Testament as well, because you got to know the Old Testament just kind of gives you a little window of who God is, but small window. That was one of my prayer times. I actually spent months praying to know God, not Jesus. I wanted to know God, like know things about God like I would know things about my best friend Kurt Nickel or whatever. Sorry, Kurt, if you insulted, I used your name. But like known him since elementary, first day of school. We've been best friends all life, and don't talk enough, but still talk. And anytime we do talk, it's not, there's nothing missed. We're still best friends. Anyhow, so I know things about him and he knows things about me that nobody else, he knows things about me that I don't know, and I remember things about him that he doesn't remember, you know what I mean? Like we're having conversations sometimes and he'll be like, oh, remember this? And I'll be like, oh fuck, no, I didn't remember that. Wow, man, you remember this? And he's like, oh shit, no, I didn't remember that, right? And so it's really cool to, and my buddy Jay, I got another friend like that. I won't say his last name on here, but he knows who he is, and he's a little younger than I am, whatever, but But again, I've known him since he was born. I've known him my whole life. Like, and really, I knew Kurt before school too, but we didn't. There was no memory back then. I knew him. And our moms knew each other, and we'd run into each other as babies and stuff, right? But and first in elementary school, that's when we started to hang out, do stuff, and maybe kindergarten, and then with Jay, my mom and his mom and my dad and his dad were buddies and went on vacation, owned businesses, did everything together, right? And so him and I go back all the way, brothers, as far as I'm concerned. And so, anyway, and we fought like brothers, and loved like brothers, and hated like brothers, all those things. Punk kids. Anyways, I want to know God, like, not as well as I know them, but I wanted to know things about God that like aren't common. Just I want to know how he feels about things and how he thinks about things and his heart, and know like how he would react, all that kind of stuff. I wanted to know more about him personally, and boy, he showed me a lot, like a lot. There's a ton out there that you can learn about him, and anyway. So to say that the Old Testament is enough, it's not. But it's a little tiny window to let you see who God is. And then you get the New Testament, and it's easy. You can just, if you have the faith in your heart to believe it, then it's just that. You can just go right from there, believe in Christ, give yourself to him, live your life different, repent. Repent means change. But personally, I was indoctrinated into the system. So I didn't believe the Bible. I believed millions of years, evolution, fucking all that stuff, which is fundamentally the opposite of the Bible. The Bible says, through man, through man's sin, we created death. The evolutionary thing says, through millions of years of death, death created man. And so it's one or the other. It's either we made death or death made us. So pick one. Don't try to mix the two together. They don't mix. Space, millions of years, none of it doesn't mix with the Bible. Anyway, so I needed to go out and learn all the science, evidence, and see why we believe what we believe and why we don't believe the Bible. And none of it makes any fucking sense. Zero fucking sense. It makes no sense at all. You can just tell the Grand Canyon's young, and there's evidence of all this stuff. You can tell that this, even in the heliocentric science, that the sun is young, and you can only go back so many years because it's shrinking every year. So if you go back in time, then it grows. So you can only go back so far. If you grow the sun 1,000,000 years, that's 1,000,000 feet. It's a big fucking difference, man. That's going to burn shit up. Billion years, that's 1,000,000,000 feet. That, and the sun, like, that's heat, man. That's a lot. You're burning planets up now. At a certain point, you're not even, Earth's not even, you're consuming planets into the sun. Earth's not even the third rock from the sun anymore. Moon's the opposite. They say that it's getting further from the Earth every year. So if you go back in time, it would be closer and closer to the Earth. So you can only go back so far. It only allows so many feet, right? A couple thousand years, you're only talking a couple thousand feet. That's nothing. If you're talking 256,000 miles, then a couple thousand feet is shit, right? But a couple million feet, right? Now your fucking tides are going to be astronomical, right? You'd be looking at, you'd fill in the fucking Grand Canyon and shit with the tides. Anyhow, the dinosaurs would have been killed by the moon just going by, smacking them in the fucking head. And then you can look at it biologically, where it's physically impossible for a man to make a monkey man, by banging a monkey or whatever. You can't have a horse dog. You just can't do these things. And we've been trying. We've been doing it in labs and trying all kinds of crazy fucking shit to make this. But then we're told that it just happened naturally. And that all the missing links just fucking died off. There's billions of A, and there's billions of W, let's say. But there's nothing in between, and actually it wouldn't even be A. There's billions of fucking, probably be like S. No, wouldn't be that far in. Say C, D, and millions of W, but none of the other fucking letters are there. Oh, they're all missing links. No evidence of any of them, ever. A bunch of them have been faked, and you're taught that they're still real, even though we know that they're faked. But no, not one. If there is one, it's just hasn't been shown to be fake yet. A bunch of them are still shown in textbooks, but they're breaking the law, because there's actually laws that say that textbooks should be current and accurate, and they're not. Anyhow, so all that proves the Bible is real, right? Everything pointed to the Bible. All this evidence started pointing to the Bible, right? And then especially once I started studying like the fundamentals of space and shit like that, and then it was like, okay, well now it's overboard pointing to the Bible, like they can't even define what gravity is, and they can't experiment with it, and they can't do anything with it. They have no idea, and then they do volume tests and things and call it gravity, but they're doing like buoyancy tests, looking at volume as opposed to, and amount of float in water and the amount of displacement in water, and calling that gravity, but that's buoyancy, and wouldn't do all the things that they say, right? And I wouldn't be able to do that and my hair go down and the oceans be held at the same time. I wouldn't be able to walk and the oceans be held at the same time. But certainly wouldn't be able to, like hair, they would stand, or they would pull down like that all the time. Be major weight on them. I would never get static. Right? Balloons, all that kind of shit, planes and flight, none of that. And then you get out into space where there's a vacuum, huge vacuum, and then there's no barrier between us and that, and we're told that this force of gravity can hold the fucking atmosphere. Well, that's physically fucking impossible. There has to be a barrier, right? You can't have a propane without the tank. You can't have the hot air balloon without the balloon. It's just fucking hot air and it's gone. It's just propane and it's gone. Right? You need the container. You can't have Earth in space without a solid container. And the Van Allen belt just doesn't fly. Doesn't work. Just a heat layer out there for no fucking reason. It holds everything together and all this shit. Bullshit. And then they say gravity was from spinning, and now they say, and then they switched it and said gravity was from something else. I can't remember what it was in the middle there. I should know. And now they say that gravity's the rotation, right, of the space-time continuum. Well, space is fake. Most of their time is fake. Certainly a linear time that you could travel through is fake. So time continuum, that's fake. So and then the curvature of the of fake time, fake. What's that? It's nothing. But we're taught to just chew it up. Anyway, going back to that was a big sidetrack, wasn't it? So the Freemasons book doesn't do that Satanist shit. It actually, I was thinking it was, because they started to go and they were kind of focusing on John more than Jesus. But it was John's message leading to Jesus, and then they focus a ton on Jesus, and then on helping each other, helping your fellow man. Now I know there's a lot of symbolism, and like I was just saying, it's all godly power. So I don't know enough to know that quite yet. If somebody can explain to me why they say that it's Satanism, I'm all ears. But I don't see it. I see more Satanism in the church, mixing church doctrine and fake science together, and conceding to man about what they believe about the Bible. I see that, and that's Satanism, or that folliness, lack of faith. I see that a ton in the churches and stuff, but I don't see it in that book, right? And when I went to the cult, they focused on all this really good stuff, and then at the end they said to they were raising the 144,000. They know the generation. They're going to raise them this way and that way, and it just forcing all this stuff to happen, and Jesus needs them to do it, and all this other stuff, and that they're the 12 tribes of Israel. None of that's correct. It's all cultism or whatever, right? So, and there was more to it than that. I'm just not getting it off the top of my head, but there was a bunch of stuff that they were getting too far into something else. And that was the other thing where they said, like, it's only like Jesus' most important message was giving yourself for your fellow man, and then they're all about working for free, living for free, all their decisions being made by the group and the community, if they can leave or if they can't, and if they can see their kid or if you can't see your kid, or if you want to do this, that, the other. All that has to be decided by this community and this group thought and stuff. And no, that's not it. That's not freedom. That's not earthly. That's not godly. That's not, no, it's not it. Really close though. I love them. And they're super successful. But anyhow, so I found it in them, the Satanist part, right? When I talked to the Illuminati, they proposed to me about their thing. I picked it right out, all the different tricks in their shit right away, after a couple conversations, right? And I know you're going to say, what the fuck would you talk to them for? Well, God told me to. I told them to bug off. Excuse me. And then God sent me a whole bunch of messages all in the same day, all a bunch of different churches and stuff, saying only a fool answers a matter before he hears of it. So you got to listen to both sides of the story, or you're stupid. Don't be a fool. So I went and listened to it, and it was a great learning experience to fully see the temptation and understand it and see what they wanted, and it gave me more faith in God because of what they wanted. It showed that they have faith in my God. They know about it, so I know that it's more real, right? They're scared of him, and their proposition showed their fear in my God. So I was like, oh, perfect. That's why you wanted me to go check it out, Father. Anyhow, so with the Masons, I don't see any of that so far. I haven't got to the end of the book yet. I'm like 3/4 of the way through or something. But they even talk about the Illuminati existing and being the opposite of them. So a lot there that evident that they're not. Anyway. So, and then they talk about nature and all that kind of stuff. So it's I see the Wiccan side of it, but I also know that Wiccan thing is godly power when done properly for God. And it's a cloudy area, but you can be easily corrupted when you're working in that stuff. So you want to make sure that you're well founded in God before you go playing with power that you shouldn't be playing with, shouldn't have knowledge of. But that knowledge is in the world, and they're using it, and so we should know it a bit too, know what we're up against, and know that with faith, no weapon formed against me will prosper. Now, it's not going to kill all of Christianity, is kind of what that means. Like, individuals can die. But it's not going to prosper against the full thing. So if I'm working for the full thing of God, I'll get to finish out my mission before I'll get killed. And then I'll probably get killed. But I'm ready for that. I've talked to God about that as well. And if I'm tortured to death or whatever, that I'm not really strong enough for that